Well, it's certainly true that the vision for education that is offered in state certification in most states, certainly here in the state where I live in Minnesota, is at odds with the Catholic vision of education. So it's not just that it's lacking. In many ways, it's actually contradictory. Um, we believe in a kind of holistic vision of education because we understand that all truth is unified and found in the unity of God Himself, right? And we have an understanding of the person as body and soul, and an understanding of what it means to be fallen and need virtue, and the way that truth sets free, and truth and beauty and goodness go together. These are all things that the current state model of education does not understand and even contradicts. Really, the state presents a much more utilitarian view of education and even of the human person. And so state teacher certification is not adequate to provide for what we need to provide for Catholic school teachers. In some cases, it can even be detrimental. It seems to be getting more so. And so what this has caused, I think, is, we used to have a partnership between the state and the church, even in certain ways. And, you could pretty much, count on the values and the ideas of truth and beauty and goodness that were being presented in the general culture to be those very similar to the Catholic view, but that's not the case anymore. And so when we simply go along with what the state is teaching, we lose our unique edge as a Catholic school. And we actually lose our inheritance, what we were given to give to the world, which is this understanding of the unity of truth and the objective beauty of truth, and the effect on the human person and who we are. So if we set aside our inheritance, well, then we just become, in certain ways, state schools with maybe a little bit of religion added in, and we lose our identity, and then our mission won't flourish. But if we're able to regain that, who we are and what it means to be a Catholic school, then our mission can begin to flourish. Yeah, it's certainly true that sometimes priests and others, they say to me about their Catholic schools, they say, well, is it worth it? I'm putting a lot of effort into this, trying to raise a lot of money, and is it worth it? And the answer is yes, it's absolutely worth it if we can help our schools become an evangelizing culture, And of course, that takes the fact that the community of the school itself would be imbued in every area with the truths of the faith, so that when people walk into the school, when they see how we treat each other, when they see how the curriculum is laid out, that they begin to experience the beauty and the truth of our faith. And when that happens, there's no greater evangelizing tool than a school. I mean, I used to see this all the time in the parish when I was a parish priest, because, the religious education students that we had coming for an hour and a half or 2 hours once a week versus the 6 to 7 hours we had every day with those young people, and the opportunity that we have. Now, sometimes we squander that opportunity, but the opportunity we have to evangelize, to put them in front of a convinced Catholic who can help open up the beauty of a Catholic worldview for them, it's unparalleled. We can't do this in any other way of church life. And so those who understand this power of the school, they're the priests who are trying to shut down their religious education program and get everybody in their school because they understand the power of it, So you're right. We absolutely need to think about it as a mission. This is something that the church is giving to the world. Now, of course, we got to figure out how to do that financially, because people need to be committed to it. But experience shows if you have a good product and you invite people to be committed to it, they're willing to give their financial resources to make this mission happen. A lot of it depends on really good leadership. Yeah, so the word culture finds its root in the word cult, which is the word to worship. And the culture of a people really represents their worldview. That is what they think is most important in the world. That is what they worship, right? You can think of examples of this from history. When you go back to the Middle Ages, what were the buildings that the culture, the people, spent the most money and time building? Well, it was these beautiful cathedrals, these beautiful Gothic cathedrals in the Middle Ages, because the culture valued the worship of God above all else, right? Well, what is our culture? Yeah, what does our culture spend the most money building? Well, sports stadiums for one, shopping malls, and uh, buildings that lawyers inhabit in high-rise buildings in downtown cities, right? Well, these are the things that our culture values. But culture forms a people to believe and live a certain way, and it's understandable, but also intangible in this way that it forms the environment, it forms the air in which we breathe. And this is what's really essential for a Catholic school, is that it become a fully Catholic culture based on a fully Catholic worldview. When this happens, and people encounter in language arts, in literature, in drama, in music, in sports, in science and math, they discover this one Catholic worldview that unifies this whole thing. Then you begin to develop a culture within the school. And then what happens is, as the young people assimilate that culture and begin to live in it, they get strengthened for the culture that we have to face out in the world. And this is the very particular challenge that we have, which is our young people are breathing in a culture that is not based on worship of God and not based on what we know to be true. And so we have a lot to do to counter that. It's why the family becomes so essential to the work of the Catholic school. But when the family is strong and the school is strong and we can collaborate together, then we can actually, as the document says, provide an integral formation that allows them to have a critical assimilation of culture. That is, to be able to understand when they go out into our culture what's true and what's not true, what's good and what's not good, so that they can actually contribute to the building up of the culture and not the continued destruction of it. This is essential in the era in which we're living, post-COVID and after the death of George Floyd, right after the terrible tragedy of George Floyd's death. But what we're seeing is the culture is in incredible pain and doesn't know how to react rightly to this pain. And so what we need is really the deeper healing of our culture, which is going to begin with the healing of our young people. Absolutely. The schools that the Institute works with in our diocese are some of our strongest and best Catholic schools. And what's beautiful about what the Institute offers is, especially for a school that's trying to, if you will, make this transition into the fuller embrace of the Catholic liberal education that really is our Catholic tradition. It's very difficult to find practical resources to help. And the Institute comes in with real clear training, very good resources. So it makes it actually easy for this transition to happen in a gradual but thorough way. And so it's actually, in my mind, when I discovered the Institute, it was a great gift. I was looking for something to help to transform our schools, and a lot of our priests and school leaders wanted to do the transformation, just didn't have the resources to do it practically. And so we've been able to form a cohort of schools who want to do this and to engage the Institute directly in helping us to do that. And it's been a great gift. And my hope is only that it grows, because it provides this kind of invaluable support to help transform the whole culture of a school as you're trying to move it forward.